Hey everyone, welcome back to Carrie Kohan's Woo Woo Stories. I am, uh, well, I guess I'm just a spiritual being. I was going to say I'm a psychotherapist and I'm, blah, 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 blah. No, I'm just a spiritual being that has had a lot of spiritual experiences. And I thought about, sharing a good lot of them with you. In fact, you know, I pretty much have a story for everything that you could ask about, from lizard people to, you know, wormholes and ETs and abductions and you name it. Ghosts. I can tell you a story. So put your subject matter into the comments, and I'll consider those for uh, future stories and share them with you. Okay, so go ahead now, put them in the comments. I'd appreciate that. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the very first time that I saw my ghost that changed my life, basically. I was 16 years old when I started to wake up spiritually again. I had shut down the spiritual aspect for so many years, as many of us do. Excuse me, makes me choke up. So, went through a lot as a kid and learned, all about different aspects of astro traveling and remote viewing, and I became extremely skilled. I could jump out of my body in a second and fly around the room and or the universe. Had full communication. So, anyways, um, I had shut all that down for a long time. I think it was just to be human and be, a child for once and for a while. And so, when I was 16, it started to wake up. It was a calling, and uh, I met my first psychic at 16 years old, Elizabeth. She was from England. I was living in Canada, and that's a whole nother story that I'll leave for another time. She had the creepiest dolls, but that's another story. We'll leave for another time. And and so at 17 years old, I knew that okay, I'm ready. I would like to astro travel. I'd like to, step out of my body again, and that's what I really want to do. I want to have out of body experiences, and so that's what I was praying for, and um, I ended up having a very close experience, which I'll share another time as well, because I want to get to this point. Once I stepped out of myself almost, but got so exhausted, I went back in and I fell back into my body that was on my bed. Once I did that, I was in full communication now with a spirit that was wanting to come and chat. Turned out she was my grandmother. My father's mother died when she was 32 years old, and her name was Mary, and she was from Ireland and Irish descent. So, not very long ago, actually, my husband and I went and looked for her grave in Ireland in County Meath, Meath, County Meath, but couldn't find them. The tombstones were worn down too much, and the church didn't have a map for the graves. They had no record of who was in their graveyard, unfortunately. So we didn't have any luck, but we knew that she was buried there. So I got to spend some time with her. Well, physically, me, when I'm 17 years old, she came to me and she spent a full year with me, educating me, teaching me. But the way that she came was amazing. Mm. So I had a brandy glass, like a big bowl brandy glass of all my bobby pins, and it sat on my dresser. And the dresser was really cute. It was one of those ornate white dressers with a beautiful mirror, and you could sit in a cute little chair. It was one of those with the drawers, right? And so flat top though. It wasn't like the three-tiered, it was flat top. And so my brandy glass was sitting on the top, and all of a sudden, I'm laying in bed and I'm, looking out at the room and just kinda talking to myself, and all of a sudden, the brandy glass moves all the way across the counter of my dresser, and it floats in the air, and then it falls to the ground, and it doesn't smash. And I looked down and I was like, this is about 10 o'clock at night, and I'm thinking, "Oh my god." So I take, like, 5 steps, running for the door, and as I reach for the handle, this hand touches my shoulder, and it was so loving and so calming. It was like 1,000 messages were given to me all at once, and I just knew that I was safe and that I didn't have to alarm the family, and it was time to just pick it up, and they were letting me know that they were there. And that was it. And so I went and I laid down, I put my, shoulder up, and I looked over back into the room. I'm facing the wall, right? And I just looked back at the wall and I was asleep within about a minute, maybe 2 minutes. How, after an experience like that, do you fall asleep that fast? Unless maybe they were doing something in calming me. It was just I was almost robotic walking back to the bed. I just got back in bed, I was asleep, done. But for the next, oh my gosh, year, every day I would speak to Mary, and she was a wonderful soul. She was such a beautiful person. She was a great gardener. She loved to garden. She loved her kids. That was probably the saddest thing for her, was having to leave early, even though she was, fine with it because she was on the other side and understood the bigger picture and saw, the love that, the children ended up having in their lives because of her departure. But boy, the journey they were on as well. So, yeah, it was a really challenging thing leaving early, but again, she knew she was going to do that, so she appreciated the time that she was, here on this plane. Well, she taught me all about astro projections and, you know, she taught me a lot of stuff, and she was with me, like I said. So anyways, I kept her a secret, and I would go to school, and I would keep it a secret. And one day I'm at my girlfriend's house, Kelly Ford's, and Kelly and I are hanging out, and we're in her bedroom, and I think she had bunk beds, my memory. There were bunk beds or something in the bedroom, and I'm leaning against the dresser, and Kelly's, facing me, and, I've got my feet crossed, and I'm just kinda leaning on the dresser, and she said, "Well, you're kinda weird, aren't you?" You kinda got some weird stuff happening, Carrie, and I said, "Oh, yeah, what do you mean?" She goes, "Well, have you noticed, things move around you?" And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "Yeah, things kinda move around you." And I was like, "No way." And she goes, "Yeah, I've seen it a couple times now." And I was like, "No kidding." Right at that moment, boom, something moved on the dresser and then fell off the dresser. Didn't break, but it fell off. And Kelly was like, "Ah!" She ran out of the bedroom. She was freaking out. And we just howled. My husband just walked into the room, so forgive me. I got a little distracted there. Anyways, yeah, it was absolutely hilarious. The timing was amazing because it turned out that Mary was actually following me. I thought she was just in my bedroom. I didn't realize that she was following me around the city or around the town or to school. So then things started happening at school. Yeah, I kind of got a reputation a little bit of being a weird kid, I think. Yeah, people didn't know whether to, you know, they didn't know about me. I got bullied pretty darn good as a young one, but, I think I was a pain in the ass as well, honestly. I can understand why some people bullied me because I was a different kid. Not that I deserved it by any means, but I understand because fear makes people do some weird things, doesn't it? So, having said all that, back at the house, Mary would be there. And I got to a point that I became a bit of a hermit because I could hardly wait to go home from school, throw my books down, shut my door, get onto the bed and say, "Hey, Mary, I'm here. So let's chat. What do you think about, what's going on with, my running?" I was a runner back then, or my ballet, or I was ballerina as well. And so, what do you think about, should I do this? Should I do that? And we just had conversations. It was really, she was my best friend. But every once in a while, she would teach me things. She would teach me about possibilities and how to use the mind and how to, open up. Uh, she brought a lot of opportunities to me as well. Different people would just show up that were perfect in every way. And so, anyways, one day she exposed herself, we'll say, to the family. She'd been with me almost a year at this point, and I didn't realize that my mother, my father, my sister, my brother had all seen, not her, but seen her energy in some form or fashion. And she had scared the bejesus out of my father, which was really quite humorous because my dad was a tough guy. He was a professional fighter, professional boxer. Um, he was not a guy that would get intimidated or scared ever. But on one particular day, I'll never forget it. My sister had come over. She left home when she was 18 years old. And so she was now living with her boyfriend, and she had a totally different life outside of our family home. And so she came home and she said, "Carrie, can I use your room to put on makeup because I'm going out on a date tonight?" That's right. She wasn't with her boyfriend, would be boyfriend. He was in the works. And so she was like, "I'm going on a date tonight. Is that all right?" And are you all right, honey? You're you're being really loud with the keys and stuff.
Not very hard to keep it quiet.
He's trying to be quiet. He's stomping through the house. Oh my God, man. Oh, so anyways, my sister, what was I saying? Yeah, she wanted to put on her makeup. And so uh, she asked to use my room. Well, Amityville Horror was a horrific movie at that time. It'd be calm by today's standards, I'm sure, but back then it was horrific. It was so frightening. We weren't desensitized yet. And so um, she was already kind of jumpy, just seeing that movie. So sure enough, Mary did her usual. That bobby pin glass went across the table and it floated in the air and then it fell right beside my sister. And my sister's doing her makeup and she's watching this thing and she goes, "Ah!" She put her leg in between the door and the door jamb because she was thinking Amityville Horror, the door is going to slam, the black flies are going to come in, and then the spirit's going to get me, right? This is what she was thinking. And so she's got her foot in there and she's screaming, pitch, a high pitch scream. Well, we all come running from every corner of the house, including my brother. He was with us at that time. And it must have been like a movie because all of our faces are peeking through the door and we're going, "What?" Our eyes are this big, going, "What?" And we're looking at her leg and she's going, "The glass, and it went, and then it floated, and then it fell." And I think it was either my mom or dad spoke first and said, "Oh, that's just Carrie's ghost." And I remember whipping my head around and going, "What? You guys know about that?" And they all said, "Yeah, we've been seeing stuff out of your room for how long?" Oh my goodness. Make me choke up. So, anyways, we all went and sat in the living room. We started to talk about it. Kathy's shaking. She's like sitting on the couch and she's just having a nervous breakdown. I'm laughing now because, it was so harmless. I mean, a poltergeist is just a spirit that can move an object. and they're not all nasty. Some are. I've seen some. I've fought a couple of them, probably a couple 100,000. I mean, demons who've done that. So that's other stories that we can get into. But for now, it's lighthearted. And this one, Mary, she was so loving, and so she was our grandmother, right? Anyways, so we started telling stories, and my father, the tough guy, right? He went he got to a point that he said he couldn't keep the door open to my bedroom. He'd have to close my bedroom door all the time because he would look in the bedroom and he would see my curtains doing this, and he'd think the very first time he was, like, pissed off. "Oh, that kid, she's left the heater on again." And so he goes over in the the electric radiator, underneath the window. It's ice cold. And he's thinking, well, maybe she left the window open. He looks and the window's closed. Holy shit, how are the curtains moving right in front of him? They're like hitting his face. He's backing out, going backwards, retreating out of the room. And Mr. Tough Guy was like almost pooping his pants. He was so scared. And to hear my tough dad telling this story, we were just crying with tears because this was so out of his character. And then my mom said that there was in the just outside of my door, there was a hallway wall and there was a mirror on that wall. And every time that she'd walk past, she would see a streak of light going across the mirror. That's often an indication of a spirit or a ghost that's in the house. You'll see a flash go across a mirror, and so that's how my mom would see her. And so again, my mom would close my bedroom door. I couldn't figure out why every time I come home, my door was shut. I mean, it was always shut, day or night. My dad would close it, my mom would close it, my brother wouldn't even go near my bedroom. If he had to go to the washroom, he would just kind of run quickly because washroom was right beside my bedroom. And we had like a roundabout kind of house. So the bedrooms were on this part of the roundabout. There was like a wall in the center, the kitchen there, the dining room there, the living room here, and then a bedroom and bedroom and a bathroom. And then his bedroom was in the very, very back. And so was my sister's. And so, yeah, so they would have to come close to my bedroom if they wanted to use the washroom. And yeah, Tom would be out most of the time. He didn't want to go anywhere near my room. So I ended up telling them that I thought it was Mary who was Dad's mother. Well, that brought my dad to tears. And so it was the first time that yeah, sorry, I'm just going back into a memory here. It was the first time that I actually got to, I wouldn't say channel at that time yet, but I could feel my grandmother and I could convey her message to him. And it changed his life, I think. He had resolve about her passing because he was only 3 years old when she passed. So, yeah, it was really beautiful in the end. Really beautiful. So it was a great bonding moment for our family, and Mary stayed for a full year. She told me that she was leaving, and I didn't want to believe it. She said, "I've done everything I need to do here. My mission is accomplished with you, young lady, and it is time for you to move on to another teacher. In time, another teacher will show up." And she did. Her name was Catherine, but that's a whole nother story. So I got to say goodbye to Mary. Never forget that day. It was my 18th birthday. Things happen on my birthday, don't they? If you read my book. And anyways, Yeah, I came from school. I was like, yes, I get to see Mary. I'm going to talk to her. And so I came flying through the room, and as soon as I flung the door open, I looked and the room looked kind of gray, but it was pink. And all of a sudden, the pink color started to condense and it became this vibrating ball. And the ball was right in the middle of the room, and it was really getting brighter and brighter. It was like sucking all of the energy out of the room, and the room just looked so gray around this beautiful pink ball. And then I could see the pink ball had a consciousness. And now, in retrospect, oh my God, I just had the epiphany. That was like a 9D hologram, right? So if you read my book, The 5 Lessons of Life, it's about my 2 near-death experiences. And in my second near-death experience, I had my life review using this ball, which was a 9D hologram. And I just realized, oh my God, all these years later, that was a 9D hologram. That's how she was communicating with me. So this beautiful pink ball kind of looked at me. It was like it was gathering up all of his suitcases, everything that it had left in the room, and it was taking everything home. And so it was gathering it all together and it was vibrating. And then all of a sudden it literally looked at me across the room, and I looked at it and I was like looking at it, it's looking at me. And then boom, it went flying at me with lightning speed, and it went right through my chest. And I looked around quickly and I watched it go through the wall, the wall with the mirror. But it didn't go through the mirror, it went through the wall. And that's a big distinction, that one. Yeah. So it left, and I'll never forget. I looked back at my bedroom, and it was so lifeless looking. It looked dull and gray, and I just burst into tears. And I went in and I slammed the door behind me, and I got on my bed and I just howled with sorrow. And I heard her. Um, I don't think I've ever shared this. So I remember crying on my bed and missing her so much. And I said, "You didn't have to go. Why did you leave me?" And she said, "You'll understand." But you were, I don't remember what she said, but it was like, "I love you. You're going to be on such an adventure, and you'll have many teachers in your life." And I was honored to be your first. Actually, she was probably about my 10th, but the first of a family member. Yeah. So that's my story of Mary. And I still miss her. I haven't called her in for a very long time. She might have reincarnated by now. Has she reincarnated? Yes or no? Yeah, she's doing something else now. But you can be in dual places. You can be in multiple universes simultaneously. So yeah, I could call her in. But she knows I love her, and I know that she loves me. So if you have loved ones that have gone to the other side, call them in, start speaking to them, and trust that you can feel them, you can talk to them. In fact, just in closing, I will say one last thing here. I had a client yesterday, was it just today, Thursday? Yeah, yesterday. And he connected with his father. He was a year and a half years old. What a story this one is. Oh my goodness. And I know he'd be fine with me sharing this. He's a longtime client now. And he he had a head injury, and we've healed him. So, what are the odds of that, right? Amazing. But he was a year and a half old when his father died, and his father had just come in. He was a big, burly guy. I said, "He's a mountain of man." And he said, yes, he was a very big man. And I saw him pick up this beautiful little baby, year and a half old, and he had just hugged him, and he had a massive heart attack. And as he fell, he didn't collapse, he didn't drop the baby. He actually slumped backwards. I think it was against a couch or something, and he wouldn't let go, but he passed with my clients in his arms. So, um, he hadn't had contact with his father since he was a year and a half old, and he's in his 50s now. And so, wow, what a beautiful gift that was to give to him, that he came for a set of sessions, and he made contact with his dad. And we both heard the same message at the same time, and it was, "Hello, son." And, he went on. But those opening words, yeah, it was really beautiful. So, and I'm sure a lot of people will go, "Oh, yeah, that's what you would expect to hear." Most people aren't called son, It's like, um, "Hey, you. Hey," that kind of thing. But it was a gentle, very firm male voice saying, "Hello, son." It's beautiful. So again, these woo-woo stories are all about possibilities. Remember that anything and everything is possible. You can do it if you choose. So if you'd like some help, you can contact me. Much love, everyone. And again, make sure to go into the comments and put in a subject matter that you'd like me to speak on. Also, remember to subscribe and give a thumbs up. Thanks, everyone. Much love. Bye now.